Top of the Spectrum News.
Hello and welcome to Top of the Spectrum News. I'm Jennifer Allen, the creator of Asperger 101.
And I'm Samuel Allen, Jennifer Allen's son. I have Asperger's syndrome, and we're here to help.
We definitely are, and today I just love the topic because how many times, Sam, have we watched a certain parody on Asperger's syndrome and laughed and laughed?
Oh, countless times.
It is, and we're talking about Asperger's High. If you were to go on YouTube, if you're one of the many hundreds of thousands of people who have done that, there is this group of actors and actresses that have rallied together and did a parody of a TV show that was supposed to be on the CW network, and it's called Asperger's High. It's a scream. I think you can quote, you and Charlie, his brother, y'all can quote several of the lines from
Yeah,
it.
we've watched it so many times. It's pretty much burned into our memories.
It does, and it doesn't, it's really funny. It's like a parodies are of anything. It's this group of actors took the whole traits of Asperger's in a fictional high school called Asperger's High. So with all that said, we're very lucky to bring to you today Leslie Sena. And Leslie is an actor, she's a comedian, she's done an awful lot of improv, but she also happens to be one of the actresses in Asperger High and one of the co-writers as well. So Leslie, we are so thrilled to have you here. So I have to ask you, how did y'all come up with the idea for Asperger's High?
It was my co-writer Ben's idea. We were all part of a sketch group called Extreme Tambourine, and we would do a monthly show, and usually we'd have a video at the show. So we were sitting around and thinking of ideas, and Ben wanted to do a high school parody. And I'm not entirely sure where it came from, but the Asperger's High came up, and Ben and I both thought that was really funny, so we ended up writing it together. I know at the time, this is 2010, there was an article by a TV critic named Alan Sepinwall, and he was talking about Parenthood, the new show at the time, and about how Asperger's was coming up in a lot of television and how they would either talk about it directly or just sort of imply that a character had Asperger's. And we thought that was interesting. And then we thought that maybe the worst idea ever would be for the CW to do a 90210 type show about Asperger's. And so we wrote that.
That is awesome. That's incredible.
And I have a question myself. As an Aspie, I find the skit very hilarious. I laugh every time. And, especially like the scene where you like lean in and you say, brown eyes are dominant in humans. And, I find that really hilarious. But what I want to know is, how did you know, how to act like an Aspie, and how did you, all the other actors, how did you have them know how to act like an Aspie? Like, did you do research, or do you have family members?
One of the actresses has a brother who has Asperger's, but a lot of it was we looked at a lot of videos on YouTube where it was teenagers with Asperger's talking about their lives. And honestly, we looked up things about symptoms, but we also, it's not completely accurate, obviously, and because there's a certain amount of television, like soap acting kind of mixed in with it, the sort of like the heightened dialogue and exaggeration. And so there are bits and pieces of things that were based on research, and then there are just bits and pieces based on the way we know that teen dramas sound.
I have to ask you anything, any stories, behind the scenes stories you can give our viewers while y'all were producing Asperger's High? Any funny stories? Sure. Yeah, share.
We had almost no budget. We had our director, Jason Axon, who's very good. I'd worked with him on a couple of different videos, and I remember we were trying to get a location, and we didn't have a school, so we shot most of it outside in a rec center in a park that just looked like a school, and then we made a whole bunch of posters, for pep rallies and things, and just hung them up and hoped that it would be good enough. I think we had to call it for rain. We shot the whole thing in one day, and one day it was just too cloudy, so we just decided to do it the next weekend. We shot the whole thing in one day. And then all of the interiors were actually in my apartment. We made an office out of just a guest room.
I think one of the funny scenes that I liked on it was that when it was the lunch scene. And someone else would come in, can I have lunch with you? And then everyone is talking about whatever their interest is. And there's just one and then the other, then the other. I thought that was very, very clever. Was that a hard one to shoot? Did y'all have many takes on that one?
Yes, it's the girl who is speaking originally wrote that to be about dinosaurs, but she knew so much about Final Fantasy that she's like, oh, I could just talk about this forever. And so we're like, well, why don't you talk about that? That would be best. I know we looked up a lot of things that might be good, like, and sort of different things for people to be interested in or obsessed with. And then we just looked up a whole bunch of details about knights, and then originally dinosaurs, and then camera models. I went through a period where I was just really interested in the movies that J.T. Walsh had been in, so that part was me. I knew all of those movies. And the actors did a really good job of just really knowing about what they were going to speak about, just being able to rattle it off very, very quickly.
A good job. They act completely OCD, didn't they, Sam?
Yeah,
On each one of
completely.
these. I thought that was funny. Also, let's see, once it came out, what was the reaction from the community? I would assume you would get both, or get some comments maybe that would be some people offended. I read a few of the comments, and there were very few that way. Most of them were positive, but I'm just curious, what kind of response did you hear as the co-writer and actress once it came out?
I was surprised at how much of a response we got, and also that how much of it was positive. It was one of those ones where we really weren't. We were definitely trying not to be offensive, but it's a comedy video that deals with something that is real. So some people will think that it's all right to make fun of, and like even within the context of making fun of just pop culture and its reaction to Asperger's, and some people won't. And we just sort of knew that that was just going to happen, and it was just a question of what people really thought. We definitely got comments that it was making fun of people with Asperger's, or that the acting wasn't accurate, or just that people just didn't like it. Some people, and that's completely valid.
You have to look at the fact that it's under comedy. It's a comedy.
Yes. Oh, well, the interesting response is that even though we put down in the YouTube comments, we listed the cast and the writers, it still sometimes comes up as, well, we still had a lot of comments asking if it was a real show, or saying, I would watch this show when it's on, and when is it on, or this is a terrible idea for a show.
Is there going to be any thoughts about a follow-up, or is that it? Y'all just had a good time and made it and then moving on?
I think that's it. I don't know what we would do for an entire series. And it was sort of a one-off parody of just like when something like that sort of ends up in the culture and people start to copy it as something that might be popular. I think in one draft of the script, we said we were trying to make it clear that that's what it was about. So we had a line like, oh, as we know, America loves Asperger's. And then we were like, no, that might be just too on the nose. But that was sort of the joke.
I think you did a great job. And tell us a little bit more, Leslie, about if we want to see more of your work or Benjamin's work, where could we find that?
Oh, well, let's see. Ben has a page on Funny or Die with a lot of his other videos. He's made a lot of really funny videos. And he's Benjamin Simon, and it's Siemon on Funny or Die. And I believe he also has stuff on YouTube. I'm under my name on YouTube. I have a channel. Actually, the short version is Go Leslie. It's GoLesley. It's like youtube.com/Go Leslie. I also have a website with links to it. It's just lesliesina.com. Actually, one thing that's new is I contributed to a book of stories. It's just come out. It's called Gross Lumps, and it's a parody of the R.L. Stein Goosebumps series, and I have a short story in that. Oh yeah, I can show you that actually. I have a copy.
Look at that. There it is. Oh, that's wonderful. Gross Lumps.
It's not for kids. It's for adults. I mean, it's not ridiculous or anything, but it's just a very, very silly book of short stories. And mine is about a high school where a kid isn't sure what's going on with his new high school, and he has a thought that maybe they're practicing human sacrifice, but he's not 100% sure.
That sounds very intriguing. Where could we get a hold of this book?
Well, you can get it on Amazon, but you can also get it at devastatorpress.com. It's a magazine I write for. It's a lot of comics, anthologies, and short humor, but we've started to put out short books. You can get it at a lot of Comic-Cons. We'll sell it there, but the best place is probably devastatorpress.com.
Okay, we'll have that information and that link available to everybody that's watching just below this interview on Asperger101.com. I'd like to thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us. That is, it is fascinating. We've been wanting to have you on. It's a hoot. We think it's funny. I think most people in the Asperger community do as well. So kudos to you and to everybody involved.
Well, thank you so much. And it's just so nice to have such a great response from parents and from people with Asperger's. And yeah, it's just nice to have a video we made just have this sort of life of its own.
Asperger's High. We thank you. And Sam, so in follow-up, what was it like to get to actually visit with somebody that we mimicked what all she said many times over?
It feels, I feel honored, you know, almost like meeting a celebrity.
I know it. It was great. So we appreciate Leslie, and we want you to keep watching. And as a result, we will have Asperger on Asperger 101. We're going to have Asperger's High, so you can watch the little program in its entirety. And we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.